In the Age of Legends, when gods and magic ruled the world, we meet the demon. Lord Leonis Magnus, he receives a report that the other demon lords have already fallen and that the 6 great heroes are approaching to defeat him. We see his army of undead fighting against the humans, but there's a giant tree that grows and one of the heroes rides on top. She fires her arrow, which splits and rains light down onto the battlefield, reviving the fallen soldiers. A dragon appears for the humans, and it starts sieging the castle. The humans continue to get closer, and the giant tree starts attacking with its roots. Leonis prepares to go out and face them, but his subordinate reminds him of the promise he made to the goddess of darkness, so it's not yet time for him to die. Leonis puts his staff away, and we see his castle being destroyed. He accepts defeat, but declares that as the undead king, he will rise again after 1,000 years and reclaim his throne. We cut to some time later as we see 2 girls entering a ruin. We learn that the ruin was uncovered by an earthquake, and they are investigating it to see if it contains a void nest. We meet Celia and her maid Regina. As they head deeper into the ruin, Regina wonders if it will really find any void, but Celia reminds her that the void are creatures that like to nest in deep underground ruins. We see them using a counter to help detect the presence of the void, and they come across some strange statues. They think that the ruin could be some kind of important, but they continue to explore. Their counters spikes as they approach a door, but it seems to be magically sealed. Celia examines the inscription, but she struggles to understand what it says. Regina thinks she will take a while to decipher it, so she decides to explore on her own. Celia keeps on examining the text, but when she touches it, the door suddenly opens for her. The room lights up, and a giant crystal is revealed on the other side. Counter goes wild and even ends up breaking. She gets a closer look at the crystal, and she realizes that there's someone inside. We cut back to the past when Leonis finds the goddess of darkness, Riselia. She reminds him of their promise that in 1,000 years' time, a human who can be a vessel for her power will appear, and it's his duty to find them. Leonis begs her to stay with him, but she just flies away. We see Celia trying to destroy the crystal, but her weapon seems to have no effect. Leonis is awakened by the disturbance, and he wonders how she entered the room because it should be sealed by magic. He wonders if 1,000 years has passed and uses a spell that allows him to understand Celia. He thinks she is some kind of grave robber, so he prepares to punish her, and his crystal suddenly shatters, blowing her away. He approaches to punish her, but Celia is suddenly confused by what a child is doing there. Leonis sees his reflection, and he is shocked to see he's just a child. He wonders if his reincarnation ritual failed, and it seems he has returned to his younger self back when he used to be a hero. Celia wonders what he was doing in the crystal, and she immediately checks to see if he's okay. Leonis gets embarrassed, and he even finds Celia kind of cute. Celia thinks he must be suffering from some kind of amnesia, and she immediately tells him that she will protect him. Leonis can't believe a demon lord like himself is being treated this way, but part of him enjoys it, and he ends up passing out. When Leonis wakes up, Celia gives him some food, but we learn he has lost his sense of taste centuries ago. He can't believe his body would lose consciousness due to hunger, and he thinks it's an embarrassment. He wants to punish Celia for her disrespectful behavior, but thinking about how she shared her food with him, he thinks she might not be so bad. Celia introduces herself to him, revealing that she's a swordsman training at the Holy Sword Academy. She asks to know more about him, so he introduces himself as Leonis Magnus. She finds his name interesting, and Leonis thinks she must recognize it from the legends passed down about him, but she just thinks it's a cute name, and she even calls him Leo. She wonders how he ended up in the ruin and thinks he must have been kidnapped and trapped by the void. Leonis doesn't know what she's talking about, and he asks about the void. Celia is surprised he doesn't know, but she explains that they are the enemy of humanity that suddenly appeared 64 years ago. Meanwhile, we see Regina exploring on her own as her counter starts going off and a crystal starts to move. She immediately activates her holy sword and she prepares for a fight. Celia explains that there is still much they don't know about the void, and Leonis wonders what year they are in. However, it's not clear how long it's been because they are now using a different calendar system, and Celia just tells him that it's the 64th year. There is suddenly an explosion, and Regina reports the appearance of a colossal void. Celia jumps on Leonis to protect him from the debris, and she tells him not to worry. The wall is suddenly destroyed, and an Ogre-class void appears. Celia tries shooting it with her weapon, but it doesn't do any damage. Leonis prepares to defeat it, wanting to protect his mausoleum, but he suddenly trips over his cloak because he isn't used to his body. The monster gets even closer, but it suddenly gets blasted as Regina appears. She wonders about Leonis, but Celia tells her she will explain it later. The monster starts to get back up, so Regina transforms her weapon into an even bigger cannon, blasting it in the chest. The monster manages to survive, and Leonis is surprised, recognizing Regina's power on the same level as a level 4 explosion spell. Regina tells them to escape while she finishes off the void. Celia doesn't want to leave her, but thinking about Leonis' safety, she agrees to go. As they run, Leonis thinks about how everything seems to be going wrong. He thinks about going back and destroying the monster, but decides to stick with Celia. Their path is blocked by another void monster, and Celia tells him to run. She prepares to hold it off, but Leonis thinks about revealing his power and defeating it. He's about to cast his spell, but Celia suddenly pushes him away as the monster attacks and cuts her down. She is thrown to the side and she starts bleeding out, but she still worries about Leonis, telling him to run away and apologizing for being unable to protect him. Another monster appears and Leonis becomes surrounded on all sides, but when they attack him, he's completely protected by a barrier. He summons his staff and instantly crushes one of the monsters with a level 8 gravity spell. He then attacks with a fireball, taking out the other two monsters with ease. However, he becomes shocked when he sees that the bones of the monsters still remain, and he notes that in his current body, his powers are only a third of what they used to be. As a demon lord, he doesn't care about human life, but he recognizes Celia's courage, so he decides to bring her back. As he revives her, we see a peculiar symbol appear on her body. Regina finishes off a monster on her end, and she immediately tries to contact Celia. Leonis is amazed that humans have developed such technology, and Celia wakes back up. She immediately hugs onto him, glad that he's okay, and Leonis can't believe that's the first thing she's worrying about. She then wonders how she is alive, and Leonis says her injuries weren't that bad, and he just used a healing spell on her. Celia is confused by this, and she wonders if it was a holy sword power that he used. Leonis says he doesn't know what she means, so she explains that holy swords are a type of power that arose in humans in order to fight the void. When the void first appeared, children possessing mysterious abilities also started showing up. Leonis recalls Regina's weapon, and Celia explains that holy swords seem to embody the personality of the wielder, but she notes that she has yet to be blessed with her own holy sword, which is why she fights with magical devices. They are joined by Regina, and she wonders about the monsters that they encountered. Celia also wants to know what happened, but Leonis says that he hid and they seem to just disappear. They make it outside, and they decide to take Leonis back to the city. Regina introduces herself along the way, but she catches him staring and she calls him lewd. Celia tells her not to be weird, but Regina continues to tease him, and Leonis can't believe that a demon lord like him is being ridiculed by a girl. However, they reach the city and Leonis is amazed seeing it. Celia reveals that it's humanity's last stronghold against a void, and Leonis can't believe he's really 1,000 years in the future. And that's the end of the video. Don't forget to give me a like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Bye.